The following podcast is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Alone in the Realm, a premium solo TTRPG podcast. I'm DV, your humble GM and adventurer. Alone in the Realm is a podcast where we let the dice drive the story, and we are along for the ride. No characters beyond death, and we let the dice lay where they fall. We'll be playing Mothership by Tuesday Night Games, and the Mega Dungeon module, Gradient Descent, by Luke Gearing. Gradient Descent, Episode 4. Here's a quick reminder of our characters. Denzel McNelly, Teamster, Team Lead for the Expedition. Stress, 4. Bins, 8. Therese Montz, Teamster, Pilot for the Salvage Scow Scorpio Rising. Stress, 6. Bins, 6. Ollie Kenworth, Scientist, Biosphere Analysis. Stress, 3. Bins, 7. Ada, Automated Droid Assistant. Android, Assistant to Denzel. Stress, 4. Bins, 12. The chaos factor for this scene is 4. Things have really settled down for the characters in the last scene. We'll test the scene with a D10. We've got a 9 versus a 4. Expected scene. Denzel and Ollie floated there in the chapel, watching their companions kneel in a dazed ecstasy in front of the Minotaur's altar, his flesh being digested by their systems. Denzel turns to Noriko, worry creasing his forehead. How long will they be like this? She pushes herself off the floor and floats to where he's located. She has a soft smile on her face and places a hand on his arm.
Usually not more than an hour. I feel a lot of suffering in you. If you take the sacrament, the Minotaur will heal your wounds. And forgive me for saying so, but I feel like that is not the natural state of your teeth. The Minotaur can restore you.
Thank you. I might consider the sacrament another time, but not today. He kindly places a hand over her hand. My teeth used to bother me quite often, and now I'm mostly used to them, but if I can get them fixed, that would be stupendous. And he smiled at her, exposing the ridged teeth completely. She did not flinch away like most people. In fact, she leaned closer.
Your friend,
and she nodded her head toward the flailing form of Ollie,
is not very polite. I will teach him a lesson if he continues his bad behavior.
Her smile never cracked. If anything, her eyes were alight with laughter. Well, he's not my friend, so do whatever you think is necessary. Denzel hated the guy. Well, hate is probably too strong of a word. Despised. Yeah, he despised Ollie. He found him crude and disgusting. About the Minotaur, I suppose you have seen him in person? Is it possible for us to meet him as well?
Why, of course! I have not been back to the deep in quite some time, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I was a diver, much like yourselves.
Ollie, by this time, had controlled his motion enough to float down within hearing distance of the conversation.
I was in Eden, the second floor of the deep. I found my way through a series of AC ducts and drainage pipes into what is called the labyrinth. It is filled with pseudo-flesh tunnels, and if you reach the core, the Minotaur will speak with you. Or, if you just stay in the tunnels long enough, the Minotaur will be drawn to you.
Wait, are you saying there's tunnels made of synthetic flesh that we have to walk down? Disgusting!
Ollie said with a scowl on his face.
You are not one to speak of things that are disgusting. Please be silent!
Noriko snapped at him. To Denzel's surprise, Ollie did keep quiet, though his face was reddened, either from embarrassment or anger, or both. She visibly calmed herself before turning back to Denzel.
The tunnels react negatively to human touch, and that irritation brings the Minotaur. But be assured, he will not harm you. A faster way, however, is to cover yourselves in pseudo-milk. This will cease the irritation, and the tunnels will lead always to the core.
She looks pointedly at Ollie when she mentions pseudo-milk. He makes a motion of locking his mouth and throwing away a key. She scowls at him and turns back to Denzel.
While we wait upon your friends, would you like to see the Garden of the Minotaur?
I suppose I would. Thank you, Noriko. Denzel replied politely. She pushed herself toward another bulkhead door and opened it up. Denzel and Ollie followed her to find a gigantic green space lit by grow lights. This area was the only one that was brightly lit in all of the Bell. Racks and racks of different plants grew all over the area. Tucked into a corner near the entrance was a set of zero-G tables that people could eat at while strapped in. Wow, you grow your own food here? Denzel looked around in awe.
Of course, we are well provided for from the garden. It also provides us with a natural form of air recycling. It scrubs our CO2 and delivers back pure oxygen. We still get shipments from the gateway station, or I should say the Deep gets shipments, and we bring them over here. I believe Monarch likes to have divers coming over, and so provides us with sustenance by ordering foodstuffs. Then the divers can stay longer before having to leave.
Why would Monarch want divers in the deep?
Ollie broke his silence finally.
No one can say for sure, but I believe it wants to take brain scans of the divers and create infiltrator androids to replace the human divers. They will then go out into the world and do its bidding,
Noriko says solemnly.
Only the Minotaur can truly stop these infiltrators, though the troubleshooters do their best to do so.
What are infiltrators?
Ollie's on a roll. 2 questions that are sincere.
Monarch takes the brain scans of humans and implants them into androids that are 100% indistinguishable from people. They can only be verified as androids after death and with a cybernetic diagnostic scanner.
Wait, what? You can't tell a difference even with a med scanner?
Ollie says incredulously. Noriko shakes her head no.
Can we get one of these cybernetic scanners then?
Mythic fate check. Does Noriko currently have a cybernetic scanner in the Lost and Found? Very unlikely. 13 versus a 15. Yes. Wow, that's unexpected. Is it functional? 81 versus 35. No.
We do have one, but it is currently not operational. Perhaps someone with the correct tools and knowledge could repair it, though.
Denzel looks at Ollie and nods.
Even broken, it is not cheap. 10,000 credits?
Denzel looks shocked and Ollie whistles.
Getting back to the infiltrators. There are basically copies of real people as androids? And you can program them to be sex bots or whatever you want?
There's the old disgusting Ollie again. Shut your mouth, Ollie, Denzel snaps. He turns back to Noriko. I'm really sorry about him. Ollie grins and shrugs. Perhaps we should be getting back to the others. Noriko agrees and gives them all a packet of food each to take along with them for later, including one for Therese. Mythic fate check. Are Ada and Therese out of their trance? Likely. 48 versus 50. Yes. As the group proceeds back to the chapel, Ada and Therese are unstrapping themselves from their kneeling pads. Therese is helping Ada to navigate in the zero-G environment. They seem to have bonded over the sacrament, where before Therese had a certain distaste for the android.
Oh, there you are, guys.
Therese says excitedly.
That was the most amazing thing I have ever experienced. You have to give it a try.
Maybe next time, Therese. Do you both feel okay? Denzel asks, smiling. They both answer affirmatively.
I feel starving, though. I guess I have the munchies.
Therese giggles. Ada looks at her and delivers a very uncustomary laugh of her own. Ha ha! It is very stilted, but it seemed to be genuine, or as genuine as laughter can be coming from an android. Well, we have some food here. Let's head over to the Lost and Found and check out a few things, and then we'll tuck in and get some extra rest for our first dive tomorrow. Denzel waves the food packets in the air, trying to entice the others. It didn't work.
Oh, don't forget to tell them about the sex bots.
Ollie chimes in. Denzel doesn't even hesitate, and gives Ollie a mighty shove. The scientist is inexperienced in zero-G and goes barreling across the room uncontrollably. Ollie, make a speed save. 4 versus 40. Save. Ollie reaches out for a guide wire as he passes it and grabs hold to halt his momentum before slamming into the wall.
What the hell, Denzel?
He shouts. I've had enough of your disgusting nonsense, Ollie. Cool it, Denzel shouts back. Ghost Eater had apparently just left the chapel and was in the docking bay. He peeked into the door to make sure everything was okay. Denzel waved him away and turned back to Noriko. Maybe we should just head back to the bunks. We can check the Lost and Found later. The woman nodded and gave Ollie a strange look. He winked at her, turned, and pushed himself out into the docking bay. Or at least he tried to. The others followed suit, Denzel filling in Ada and Therese with what they learned from Noriko while they were in the garden. They were both shocked to hear about the infiltrator droids. Ada, in particular, was very disturbed, considering she had found logs of her own brain scan. Ada, make a fear save. 19 versus 81. Save. We will need to be very careful in the deep from now on. We must always stick together, at least in pairs. That way no one is alone and we won't have to worry about being replaced. Denzel placed a comforting hand on Ada's shoulder as they floated through the darkness of the tank towards their bunks. She patted his hand gratefully. They all washed up in the restrooms that Arcady had set up in the tank, then ate the meals provided to them by Noriko. It had all been converted into various pastes and then placed into the bags, but the food tasted fresh and was better than most food they got while on the job. They then tucked themselves into their bedrolls and prepared for sleep. Ollie was in the bedroll next to Therese and he whispered over to her.
There's room for 2 in my bedroll, Therese. I'll keep you nice and warm.
Shut up, Ollie,
Therese whisper shouted back. She heard him giggle. Both she and Ada discussed having a prayer before sleep, asking for further guidance from the Minotaur. They rest a little easier, knowing that there is an entity that they can meet in person perhaps, that will give some peace and answers to life's questions. After they are all fast asleep, Ollie is awakened in the night by a hand covering his mouth. He startled, then saw Noriko floating beside his bedroll. She was smiling and wearing a soft robe pulled tightly around her slim form. Ollie grinned under her hand. She made a shushing noise and unzipped the bedroll enough to slide in with the older man. She leaned in and whispered into his ear.
If you ever touch me again, or say anything else disgusting within my hearing, it will be your member that we serve as a sacrament next time. Do we understand each other?
Ollie felt a slight prick of something sharp on his nether parts. He paled and nodded vigorously. Noriko smiled at him and slipped out of the bedroll, waving her scalpel. She disappeared into the darkness of the tank, with not another word spoken. Ollie looked into the bedroll to make sure everything down there was okay. A single droplet of his blood drifted up by his face. He swiped it out of the air and smeared it on his bedroll. Just a drop. Just a drop. Ollie, make a fear save. 93 versus 29. Failed. +1 stress. Ollie's now up to 4 stress. I'll do a test now with the crew's lowest saves to see if they have any stress relief while they rest. Therese will do so with advantage due to her prayers. Since Ollie's only at 4 stress, I won't risk a save with him. Same for Denzel. So, it's just Therese. Therese, make a rest save with your fear, which is her lowest save, with advantage. I got a 23 and a 68. We'll take the 23 versus 27. That is a success. You take the ones digit of that number, which is a 3, and will relieve that much stress. So 3 stress relieved. Her stress is now back to a 3. That's the end of this scene. Our chaos factor will go down to 3 now. Things are really cooling off for the crew. I'll add in a new thread for Ada wanting to find her brain scan in the deep and erase it. We'll assume that the group gets 8 hours of sleep and will continue their journey afterwards. Hopefully, Ollie has learned a lesson today and we won't see a continuation of his misogyny. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Gradient Descent. I'll see you next time. I would like to thank Kat P for voicing Noriko on this episode. She did a great job. Kat's details can be found in the description below. If you want to help support the show, consider leaving a like and a comment, as that really helps the algorithm. Consider sharing the link on your favorite social media.